Hey folks, welcome to the MB Wildman channel. On today's video, I'm just getting ready to go out here to another one of my deer spots. And this spot, I've tried something new, a new type of deer attractant this year. It is the 1st of September. So I think it's like, what day is today? September 5th. So it's right around the 1st of September. I've been using this sweet bait in there for about a month and I'm headed in to check it. I'm positive that it's going to do well. So what I want to do is I'm going to show you both how to make it, and I'm going to show you how to use it while we're in there. And then I'm going to show you some of the results off the trail cam. I've had the trail cam up since I started using it, so I'm sure that there's going to be good activity in there. And it's one of those real easy baits to make if you've got the right sort of stuff in your area. So what this is a bait that consists of chokecherry base. So I don't know where you're at or kind of what's in your location, but here in New Brunswick, we've got all kinds of what we call wild chokecherries. They look like this, and they hang kind of in bunches, and they're really easy to find. They're really easy to harvest. So what I want you to do, I guess you don't need to do it if you don't want to, but what I do is I harvest chokecherries. So this is about, I try to start out, each batch is about 5 cups. So if you take a look at these right here, these are chokecherries. They're nice and soft. They're really juicy. They're anywhere between, let me show you. They're anywhere between like this color reddish, this nice bright red here, okay? And this dark, almost like black color here. So they'll start out green on the bush and they'll hang in little bunches like grapes, and they'll start out green and then they'll eventually get to the lighter red, the darker red, and almost to the black. The longer you let them go, the sweeter they get. So it's a bit of a balance because I want them to be as sweet as possible before I make this bait. But if you let them get too far gone past the black, they can start to, the little stems don't hold them on very well, and you get a good thunderstorm and some good heavy rain, and then that's it, they're all over the ground, right? So you got to kind of pick and choose when you harvest. I like to get this recipe that I'm going to show you calls for 5 cups, okay? So basically 5 cups of ripe chokecherries. You're going to need 1 cup of sugar, and you're going to need 1 cup of salt. Now I just use coarse salt. It doesn't matter what kind of salt you use. I'm just cheap, so I use the cheapest I can find, so coarse salt. And you're going to need probably about a cup and a half of water. All right, so I'm going to show you how to make it right here, and then I'm going to take you into the bait spot, show you how to use it, and all of that. So here we go. Let's move this camera down a little bit. You can see what I'm doing. You don't need to see me, you need to see what I'm doing. All right, so start out with your, whoops, this way, I guess. So start out with your 5 cups of chokecherries, and all in there. All right, the next thing you're going to do, I just need you to add just a little splash of water to the mix. Doesn't have to be too much. And then you got your good old-fashioned potato masher, and you're going to start to just squish these up a little bit. Now this may seem like a super easy task, but actually these are they're pretty solid, okay? So you're going to have to squish these down. It may take you a little bit of squishing, and if your potato masher isn't overly strong, you may have to get like a metal spoon or something like that to break these up. It doesn't have to be perfect. You don't need, I mean, I suppose if you wanted to, you could use like a blender, or if you had an old, food processing unit or something like that. So once you get these smashed up a little bit, they don't have to be perfect. They don't have to be all perfectly, done. But once you get them, about that much done, so maybe halfway between done and not done, you're going to add into the mixture half of your sugar and half of your salt, okay? There you go. And then another probably half a cup of water going in there. And again, as you can see, I'm like super detailed, super accurate measuring here. It doesn't have to be like that. It's just basically you want all your ingredients in there, but you don't want it all in there at once. Okay, so now keep smashing. And the water and the salt and the sugar is all going to get sort of mixed together in there. And it should thicken up. So it should be somewhere between, it shouldn't be really like loose liquidy, Look at my masher, holy smokes. Not very strong masher. Put that back in shape. There we go. Okay, so we're going to continue to squish this up. This process should not take you a long time. All you're looking for is you want the berries to be pretty much broken up. You want them to release their juice into this mixture. Okay, so once you get this so that you feel that most of the berries are broken up, most of them are smashed up, add the rest of your sugar and add the rest of your salt. Okay, so that's everything in there that we had. I would not add any more water just yet until we see how thick the consistency is going to be. What we're looking for consistency is not really a paste and not really a liquid, somewhere in the middle of that. I'll show you this when we get out in the woods, but we would like this to be able to soak into what we're gonna use out there. So, all right, so we got this down to the consistency that we're looking for. And I mean, this is never gonna go to a liquid, right? Because all of those berries have a little pit in them. You can see here as I show this to you, right? So they've got those little yellow pits in there. So you're gonna get like the berry shells, like the hulls of the berries, which are perfect in there, which is fine, but you're also gonna get the little yellow pit type and orange pits in there, and that's okay too. So you don't look for this to get to be a completely liquid thing. You just want it to be mashed up well. And if you make a mistake and you get too much water in the mix and you're finding that it's really sloppy and really not good, just all you have to do is add a little bit of flour and it'll thicken it up back to the way that you want it. It doesn't hurt anything. But what you're looking for thickness and consistency is right there. Okay, so you want it to be thick enough, but you want it to kind of be goopy enough too, so you don't want it to be a paste, but you want it to look basically like that right there, okay? Basically my 5 cups of berries here, plus my 1 cup of sugar and 1 cup of salt, that's enough to do 1 bait spot for, you know, a month or however long we decide to leave it out there between checks and between refreshes. But this mixture right here, using the chokecherries, is incredibly effective. Deer love these things. They especially love them when they're sweet. Adding a little bit of salt and a little bit of sugar to anything that deer like to lick is good, and that will bring them in as well. All right, let me take you up to the spot where we've been using this, and I'm gonna reapply a bunch now that'll get me through the month of September, and then I'll show you some of the pictures and I'll show you kind of how and why it works out there at the spot. Okay folks, so I'm walking in here on almost to my spot where I was using this this sweet bait. I'm gonna walk you in and check out some track and show you where the camera is and what the setup is, and then I'll show you how to use it. All right, so we're approaching the spot, and just as a little bit of background information, there's a huge big cut all out in through there, about 120, 130 acre cut all out in that way. And I'm about 40, maybe 30, 40 yards off the cut. You can see right here, right up in here, that old black stump and stuff, that's where my chokecherry, a chokecherry sweet bait. And as you can see it right now or not, but right up here, right up there is where the camera is pointing down. So we're gonna take a look at what we've got for activity. It's been a while. Nice track right there, probably moose though. It's been a while since I've been in here. So again, I don't know exactly how much activity there's been. I've got a fair amount of confidence in this type of bait, especially this time of year. So we'll see what the activity's been like here, but. All right, so there's been a fair amount of activity, that's for sure. Look at this all gummed up. It's rained pretty hard here in the last little bit, so the tracks might be a little difficult, but definitely some moose. It's a nice moose track right there. That's definitely some deer. There's some deer track there for sure. Pretty good deer track there. Not a bad one at all, right there. All right, guys and girls, so here's where I'm gonna let you in on exactly how and why I believe that this chokecherry sweet bait is gonna work for deer. So obviously there's been a fair amount of activity around here, around this bait already. I'm gonna refresh it here today and explain to you why it is that I think it works. But the key to this is to use this in an area where there isn't already this type of food source or this type of bait. So what I mean by that, pretty simply, is if you've got, like I got these chokecherries from around my farm, right, from around the house. Here I am, there's a big cutover out there, no chokecherries. Off on this side is a big hardwood ridge, no chokecherries. Old pasture ground leading down that way toward a brook, no chokecherries. But the flavor of the chokecherry and the scent will attract deer because they love these things, right? They eat them all the time if they're in their area. So in my mind, I'm introducing a food source or a smell into that area that isn't native to this area, okay? So what I did was, you can see some of this old stump. This wasn't here before, right? So I brought this in. It's an old rotting stump, really good at soaking in materials and holding flavor. This was rolled all the way up over here, like this, just like that, the last time that I was here. So something's come along and obviously been interested enough in this attractant to roll that over. Probably a bear. I'm not saying bears aren't going to love this, because there is a little sugar in there, there is a little salt in there, but they won't stay because there's no food. There's no amount of food for them to eat. So all I do was I make sure I'm introducing this into an area that doesn't have a whole lot of it. If you've got your deer spot on the edge of a piece of pasture ground or on the edge of a farmer's field and there's already trees and trees and trees of chokecherries, don't use this. You're not going to have any level of success bringing deer to an area that already has a lot of this food source in it. It's no different than taking, you know, would you go dump a pail of apples out in an apple orchard? Why? There's already a whole whack of apples there. Deer are going to be there or they're not. In this area, I'm trying to catch deer to get a whiff of this sweet food bait, this sweet scent that isn't natural to this area. It's not already here, so it should pique their curiosity. So I've got a deer 40 yards over there walking through the cut and suddenly gets a whiff of, hey, what is that? That smells like chokecherries. Boom. And they're coming over to check it out. So all I do, again, I take the concoction that I just showed you how I made, and I'm gonna just put it down on top of all of this. And I'm going to, it's a little thick right now, okay? Now, if you want to, depending on, you know, checking your weather and not, for us, it's supposed to rain here this evening, so I'm not going to do too much with this. I'm going to make sure I take that plastic bottle out of here, but I'm not going to do a whole lot with this. I'm going to let this sit here on the stump, and I'm going to let it soak down through, and then tonight when it rains, it should wash it pretty much down and pretty much away, and then we're going to be all set, and that's it for the next month or so. I'm not going to be able to hunt in here until I find the piece of game that I'm looking for, but also it's still only the 1st of September, so we got to get all the way through September and well into October here in New Brunswick before I'm able to hunt this. I'm not going to hunt it with a bow. This is a rifle spot. So anyway, that's it. That's all. I just wanted to show you a real quick video on this new type of bait that I use using chokecherries. I'm going to show you some results of the camera. Just checked it. There's 1,800 pictures on the camera. Probably a lot of wind and probably a lot of goodness only knows what, but I'll pick out some of the better activity and show you on the video. So anyway, look, stay tuned for that. Some upcoming pictures and video from what's been at this spot. But until next time, happy hunting from the MB Wildman channel.